Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Financial Astrology. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is a recent phenomena that has basically shook up the world of AI. And I thought it would be important to actually discuss this shakeup and how it fits into the wider context, perhaps, of how finances and institutions will be potentially affected and changing around the world. So, of course, this is, it looks at, financial matters, this channel, how policies are changing, technology, AI, etc. Because AI is going to, artificial intelligence is going to be having a huge impact, and digitalization is going to be having a huge impact on global finances. So just to give a little idea, and at some point I'll drop in either pictures here or here, probably over here, little screenshots to illustrate what I'm talking about. So what is it that I'm talking about? About a couple of days ago, maybe maximum 3 days ago, at the time of making this video. So today's date is the 29th of January 2025, and it's 9:23 p.m. UK time. Now, China released an AI rival, a rival to ChatGPT, effectively. And for those that may not be aware of ChatGPT, I think everyone is now, but they are an AI. ChatGPT, of course, is an AI platform where you can ask it all sorts of questions. It can give you answers. It can write documents. It can collate all sorts of information off the internet. It can do voice translations, so many different things. There are just different types of AI that produce artwork, etc., and stuff like that. But the most famous one is ChatGPT. And the reason why this has caused such a stir is ChatGPT is an American-based company. I think it's OpenAI, isn't it? And it's I forget the CEO's name now, but anyway, he's a rival to Elon Musk. And essentially billions has been invested in developing this technology, developing the hardware infrastructure, spending a lot of money on the chips, these semiconductor chips, capable of course, doing the levels of computational gymnastics required in order to bring these services, along with billions being potentially invested in new data centers, etc., all of this stuff. The new administration in the USA only last week announced that it would be a $500 billion investment project called Stargate, if I recall correctly, which would be, again, AI-powered systems, development, announcement of funding for data centers, all of these things, because there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be put into place. And over the last couple of years or so, billions, literally billions, has been invested into AI, and and it's still yet to be seen fully the full impact of AI, particularly on the workforce, because the computational stuff that this AI is able to do is starting to basically render quite a lot of jobs obsolete, or you certainly need less people than you did before, particularly when it comes to, say, like accountancy, etc., stuff like that. And so, and America has been leading the world in this, or certainly American-based companies. They've made significant developments as well, I hear, in France as well. But If we think of an American chip firm, Nvidia, for example, it's worth multiple billions of dollars. Now, many of you will know, but just in case those that don't, in the previous administration, there was something passed which was called the CHIPS Act, which was about essentially helping to bring chip manufacturing back to the United States and essentially sideline China. Yeah? It effectively kind of put an embargo on semiconductors, etc., especially which is what Taiwan is famous for as well. They're one of the world's biggest producers of semiconductors, and these semiconductor chips are able to do a tremendous amount of processing power. So with that in place, and of course, America racing far ahead, you can imagine the shock, particularly for US based tech companies, when China literally about 3 days ago, this story is only about 3 days old. By the time you see it, maybe it's 4 days old or something like that, certainly less than a week. Imagine the shock to the industry. Well, you don't even have to imagine it because it's actually documented that China has been able to produce an AI platform which rivals ChatGPT, and by objective scores. So basically there's, internationally these things are assessed on their accuracy, their efficacy, how these things work objectively. And basically, if I remember correctly, it was something like ChatGPT, I think out of 100 got maybe like 89 or something like that. And DeepSeek, so I'll drop the logo here or around. DeepSeek, if basically ChatGPT got 89, they got 88. Or to that effect, whatever the equivalent is, whatever is the measuring scale, they only got 1 point less. Now, that's already quite remarkable, but it is alleged that China has been able to produce this level of software at a fraction of the cost and not using these semiconductor chips. Because effectively there was an embargo. The previous administration basically banned China from having access to these chips. Now, bear in mind the amount of money spent on the likes of ChatGPT and Google's version and all these different versions. We're talking literally billions. And China allegedly has been able to come up with this for less than $6 million. So you can imagine, billions spent on one side, less than $6 million spent on China's side. Apparently they used graduates to put this together, and it only took them about 3 weeks or so. That's what I've heard. Don't quote me directly on that, but we're talking weeks, not years, weeks to produce this. This, you can imagine, has caused an absolute furore. Although the international these directors of these AI companies applaud Deep Blue and applaud the Chinese because they said it's very, very good. They are allegedly doing their best to copy every single feature they can of it. But this launch has cut off, well, basically, it has wiped off 593 billion, you heard this right, $593 billion worth off the value of Nvidia stock. Yeah, off the value of Nvidia stock. And I looked this up on Reuters. It's been reported across the whole world. And at least 4 billion off OpenAI, which of course famously produces ChatGPT. So why am I talking about this? The reason why I'm talking about this is because so much global finance has been invested in these AI platforms because it's understood that essentially AI is going to change the future. Now, you guys that have been following my channel for a while, obviously this is the financial side of things, but those have been watching me over on Hogarth's Global Astrology. I've been talking about how China, especially via BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, and China. In fact, there's more countries that have joined now, but I was talking about how China is asserting itself on the world stage and showing the world that it can innovate. Now, a lot of these top CEOs and economists, etc., and people that look very closely at this AI stuff, we're not expecting China to be in this position for another 2 years, yeah, because of the embargo, effectively. And they've literally proved the world wrong. And one of the things that I believe is this, and I can't remember where I heard this saying from. It's a very, very simple one, and I learned it as a child. When you try to kill something, it fights for its life, yeah? Just like when you put sanctions on something or restrictions on someone or something, it makes people very, very creative. And what this means, the fallout from this, is that because China has been able to basically produce something that is pretty much just as good as ChatGPT, but at a fraction of the cost, it has shown the world that you do not have to spend billions on all this infrastructure, data centers. They've been able to get this basically same equivalent, ChatGPT equivalent, on chips that are much less sophisticated. They're saying that basically you can run this software now off the equivalent of an Apple laptop, yeah, or the like. Now, we know our mobile phones and our laptops are incredibly powerful, but in order to kind of like, under the current model, or what was the current model, you needed tons and tons of computers doing lots and lots of stuff to back all this up, so ChatGPT and the like could give these answers and these these voices and accents and all of these different kind of things that this software does. And the fact that they've been able to run it so cheaply, part of the reason why there was such a big stock sell-off, because everyone was like, well, then we don't need all of this infrastructure then. Like, some of these chips apparently, semiconductor chips cost $100,000 a pop. So in a way, it's kind of like someone being able to run Apple's App Store off an old Nokia phone. Do you know what I mean? That's the analogy that comes to mind. Which, of course, is a complete game changer. Complete game changer. It's obviously going to become what it's already proving widely popular, because imagine if you are an institution of any kind or a company of any kind, you would have to buy the license, of course, to use this stuff. And, basically DeepSeek can produce it for a fraction of the cost, which democratizes, of course, this. And of course, many, many countries around the world are going to start using it because they're saving an absolute ton of money. But also as well, what it's also done is it's upset the apple cart, because they've stolen the mantle, as it were, or the mandate from a lot of American companies, which of course pride themselves on their innovation. And then basically China's been able to do it on a shoestring. Now they'll probably be able to kind of, roll this out across all of China, and it'd be rolling out across all of the world. And there was something that was leaked by a staff member in Meta, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically they were talking about the earthquake of this. They're saying they're trying to copy every single feature they can of it. But one of the bigger things that came out in this little memo that was leaked was basically how can tech companies justify these huge salaries of these CEOs, which this person said in the memo, all get paid more than the entire budget that China gave to these students. How can they justify their wages and these extreme costs if it's been proven that it can be done on a shoestring budget? So this is why, you know, this has been such a big deal, and this is why I'm talking about on Hogarth's Financial Astrology, because it has made a huge financial impact. But it also speaks to that energy of Uranus that I was talking about in one of my first videos that I posted here on my channel. And I talked about the disruption, yeah, the shock of the new, how Uranus is the planet of tech, of AI, of these things. At the moment, as of today's date, Uranus, I think is it still retrograde? I'm not sure if it's gone direct yet, I forget. But at the moment, Uranus is hovering around 29 degrees of sidereal Aries. And Aries does deal with innovation of all kinds. So it's showing that the Uranian energy is still very much in the sphere of tech innovation, yeah, continuing on that theme of the last 7 years that Uranus has actually been in Aries. This is when really a lot of this stuff has exploded. But Aries is the sign where you experiment, where you try out new things. It's very much like the Petri dish of the zodiac. It's young, it likes to be first, it's a very pioneering energy, but it's where things are experimented on and with. So if we think in terms of how much, for example, Bitcoin has developed over the last 7 years or so, how it's increased dramatically in value, and how, of course, we've now got blockchain technology, blockchain coins, which I'll go more into in future video. We've got, you know, things like XRP Ripple. We've got Heredia H-bar. We've got XLM, Stellar Lumens, for example. Bloomberg. No, not Bloomberg. JP Morgan. One of the banks, JP Morgan, has just come out with a coin which is Onyx. Onyx crypto coin. You know, they're doing their thing, and this is connected with satellite technology, being able to kind of transfer that information via satellite using, again, very chips in there that don't have that much memory capacity. So, you know, people are figuring out ways how to do this stuff, but also cheaper and on kind of effectively older technology, which again is very Uranian as well. You know, it is the shock of the new, but it's also innovation, taking something old and then upgrading it as well. So this is having a tremendous impact. And it's also as well going to, in terms of BRICS, going forward. So for those that may not be familiar, BRICS is essentially it's a coalition of countries as financial allies, sort of like a rival to the G7, which of course is the world's biggest economies coming together. So Japan is in there, USA is in there, UK is in there, France, Germany, etc. I've dropped one or two there. But BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, they are growing. Yeah, they are growing. So this technology, this DeepSeek, has come in from China. So of course, this is really quite a powerful coup for China. So let me just let you know. Yes. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is when Uranus is going to move back into sidereal Taurus on or around the 29th of March 2025, which I'm also referring to as the Great Awakening. Many of you guys who've watched my other channel know that I've been talking about this. But the reason why Uranus in sidereal Taurus is so important is because Taurus is the sign of money, assets, asset classes, and value of all kinds. Uranus is the planet of what? Crypto, AI, digitalization, tech. So, of course, when he moves back in, which he will do around that time that I was saying, he's actually going to stay in the sign of Taurus for 7 years. So this means we're looking at 7 years of extraordinary innovation and transformation and change in asset classes of all kinds, which is what I spoke about in terms of tokenization, digital ledgers, etc., stuff like that. Now, BRICS are currently working on a payment system, their own payment system, which will be separate to the dollar, by the way. And allegedly, whatever digital coin that they come up with is going to be backed by gold and by oil. So if we think in terms of the current global system, which is the fiat currency system, which essentially started in 1973, when President Nixon basically removed the dollar off the gold standard. Yeah, it became unpegged from gold. And then essentially we had what we have now, which is the fiat currencies. And the well, some say the upside, but the downside of that is is that it can allow for a lot of printing money, yeah, which is a very inflationary thing. And because the USA is the world's currently the world's reserve global currency, it essentially has been able to export its inflation, yeah, because everyone's been holding dollars, etc., and they can print, and then those inflationary costs effectively get spread around the world. Now, what BRICS is seeking to do, they say they're not necessarily trying to get rid of the dollar, although I suspect they probably wouldn't mind. But it is about, what they say is about providing an alternative to the dollar. Now, who are the countries that are currently involved? So I was just checking on Reuters, and I learned today that as of the 17th of January 2025, Nigeria has allegedly been accepted into BRICS. So Nigeria is, it's got the sixth, it represents the sixth biggest population on Earth. Yeah, Nigeria is a huge country in Africa. And BRICS together is basically representing, I think it's getting close to like half the world's population. Yeah. So who is there as well as Nigeria? So of course we have Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, the original BRICS, yeah, the original 5. Then we have Egypt and Ethiopia, which of course two other African countries, and Nigeria is in there. We have Iran, Indonesia, and the United Arab Emirates. Argentina were invited, but they declined. Saudi Arabia have been invited, but they are yet to formally accept. Yeah, when I check that out. So how does this, so do you see how this feeds into a wider picture? Because particularly with China's DeepSeek, they've proved categorically that they can surpass the United States in terms of, particularly with like AI and stuff like that. And if they were using the same technology, then people would just go, well, you know, fair enough, etc. The fact that they've been able to kind of equalize, but they will surpass because it's cheaper, a lot of this AI stuff, while not using semiconductor chips. So imagine when, you know, China gets access to full, you know, semiconductor chips, etc., and all of this kind of stuff, which is, of course, remains to be seen in terms of the geopolitics with China and Taiwan, which is the world's biggest producer of semiconductor chips at the time of making this video. You know, one could see that the applications for this could be absolutely extraordinary. But the fact that they've been able to do that using older chips with much less capacity and producing basically the same standard of product for a fraction of the cost completely changes the game. And it also means as well, if you think, for example, with developing countries, for example, which many of them are BRICS, essentially is representing a lot of that. You know, I mean, should China be considered a developing country anymore? I really don't think so. I think they're very, very advanced. Obviously, you know, per head, they're not as individually, people aren't maybe as wealthy as we are in the West, shall we say. But you know, they've got 1.4 billion people. The middle class, of course, is expanding hugely, and you know, they've been growing at extraordinary rates for a long time, and they're doing a lot to reduce poverty and greenify their economy as well, using, you know, renewables, etc., and stuff like that. Now they've proven to the world that they can produce things like ChatGPT, or with their DeepSeek, for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the technology. So this is huge. This is huge. So what I expect to see, particularly as 2025 continues, 2026, 2027, you will still have a lot of American companies, of course, leading, being at the cutting edge of tech. Like I said, the blockchain technology is not going anywhere. That's going to be adopted, you know, is adopted by the whole world. BRICS is going to use blockchain coins, of course, not produced in America, but obviously produced elsewhere. But XRP Ripple, for example, you know, American company, 80% of banks in Japan by the end of the year are going to be using XRP Ripple. It's said that it's going to be starting to be integrated with the Swift banking system as well. So don't worry, I'll do videos soon on like the key players, as it were, the key cryptocurrencies that actually have utility. I'll also talk about meme coins and stuff like that as well, and the role that they play. But meme coins are not serious coins. You know, when I start talking about XRP, XLM, HBAR, these have real world applications. The coin by JP Morgan, for example, real world applications that's being used already in satellites, and that will all develop. So I wanted to make this video for you guys to see how the AI does have a real world impact as well. It will have a huge financial impact as well, particularly as well when it comes to people's careers and professions and stuff like that. So just as I've been watching this story unfold, I was thinking, yes, I need to make some content about this to put this into context, because this really is a landmark moment. And I'm very interested in making videos on this channel that are kind of evergreen content. So as things develop as going forward, people can refer back to these videos and go, yes, I remember, that's what Hogarth was talking about. Of course, I'm not the only person in the world talking about this, but I don't think there are many astrology channels talking about financial astrology and the movements of the planets and how that is going to affect global finance, because this is huge. We've just seen it categorically proven how these innovations and this international competition can affect global markets and these huge, you know, tech companies. And it's going to be very interesting, because going forward, you know, particularly the US-based tech companies, where they pay their CEOs vast sums, increasingly going forward, they're going to have to try and justify those wages. So we could see some slimming down, trimming back, maybe companies that are smaller, more agile, more nimble is probably the better way to go, rather than these juggernauts. But let's watch this space. Yeah, I just thought I'd give you that information there, and I hope you found that interesting. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and share. See me on the next one soon. All right, bye-bye for now.